everybody. Welcome to another Tuesday Night Live. I'm Kat, the Nurse Flipper. I'm joined by my co-host Rod over there. And below me, everybody has been on before, so no newbies tonight. I have got Tucker Findley, and his dad Ryan is here with him as well. Tucker's in the hot seat, guys. He can handle it. And then Katey corner is George the Antique Nomad. So we're super excited to have them back on with us. I'm going to make Tucker big and George and let them tell you a little bit about themselves. And then we will get to your questions. There are already 16 highlighted, guys. Get them in early. Get them in early. So
we have some new members too, are at the bat.
Yes. Yeah. So here is Tucker to tell you a little bit about himself and his business. I do have all of Tucker's links to all of his pages down in the description if you guys want to give him a follow. So here is Tucker.
Hi, my name is Tucker from Tucker's Treasures and reseller. So, not my dad. It's not my dad. He works for me the other way around. So, yeah. Tucker from Tucker's Treasures and I'm a reseller.
Perfect.
I'm Tucker's dad.
Yep.
They call me TD.
Yep.
Tucker's dad.
Tucker started selling when he was 9 years old. He's 13.
Yep.
And now I work for him. So.
Yep, you're my employee.
All right, here's George.
Tucker, you are awesome. You got started about 15 years before I did. I wish I'd started at that age. It's good to meet you, and it's good to see all of you out there. I know I look like I got on the wrong side of Rod tonight, but I'm preparing a storehouse sale, and so if you want to know about the Shiner, well, you'll have to watch the Antique Nomad Shorts channel, because I only want to tell that story one time. So watch my little shorts this week talking about the sale I'm doing this weekend, and you'll hear all about it. It's not as bad as it looks.
That's so funny. You should have let them think it was Rod.
Yeah.
And then at the end, you could have said, for the real story. All right. So Molly put this question in this morning at 8 o'clock this morning. She said she has a 68-pound, 36-inch bronze antique statue, and she needs to build a crate for the statue. But what would you recommend material to pack around it?
That's not my. I don't know. I don't do large things.
I would never even attempt it. Is the answer for us?
Boy, you know, the stuff that you recommended me, Kat, is probably the best thing I can think of. That stuff that you rub it in, it expands to.
Oh, the Instapack. Yeah, it comes up to pretty big. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, you know, unless it's really big, and then if it's really big, you probably want to build an actual crate, and you might even want to take it to a shipper and have them build a crate. It's surprisingly not as expensive to ship really big things. If you take it to the shipper and put it on the dock and let them pack it, it's you know, if it's really worth doing that for something. You've shipped furniture, you know how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing as George is. If it's very valuable, just take it to a shipping company. They will build a crate for you, because when they are like loading those up to like on the trucks, they'll secure it in there with straps and everything else and put it in there. So that might be your best route to go. I don't know how valuable it is, but I was saying if it is super valuable, that's what I would do.
Yeah, so for me, I wouldn't be building a crate at all. I would be using U-Ship and having them hand deliver it. And then you wouldn't have to pack it at all, because they come in, they blanket wrap it, they secure it in their truck, and there's no packing required at all. So personally, that's what I would do, because I wouldn't want to try and lift a 68-pound statue. Or even make my husband lift that. I would pay somebody to come in and get it. So with the bigger items, the furniture, paintings, things like that, I just use U-Ship, and they come in, and it's called white glove treatment. So it is handled a little more fragile than, you know, like something clunky, and you can request white glove treatment for it. Like one of the Capodimontes I sat in a box in padding in the front seat of the truck the whole way to Alabama, just so they could literally have their eyes on it the whole time. So you can definitely request that. I would not try and pack it or build a crate personally. I would not. Let's see. Miss Valerie says, I have a newspaper from 1927 with headlines about the Lindbergh Landing in Paris. Would you list it now or wait until 2027 when it's 100 years old?
My side, I just sell it and get it out of there. It just sits there and you're not going to know what to do with it. I have too much stuff, so I just move it. That's how I feel.
I completely agree with Tucker for a couple of reasons. One thing is that unless it's the one that was done in New York or Paris, if it's the New York paper or the Paris paper, it's not going to be worth very much money, even though it's old, because lots and lots of people saved the newspaper when World War II started, when World War II stopped, when JFK was assassinated. Unless it's the home page from the city that the event happened in, it's not really worth a premium. So keeping it for 3 or 4 years isn't going to get you more money.
Yeah, I agree with both of them. We're in the business of flipping items and making money, not hoarding items or paying to store those items. So I list it now, take your money, because you can reinvest that money for so many times over the next 4 years until 2027 comes around, and you could be making 10 times the amount of money than holding on to that and just waiting.
Yeah, I agree with everyone. I think I've kind of learned what George said, and that's that a lot of these really popular topics were heavily printed, and most of them are not even worth me listing. So most of them I don't even list anymore because they were just so heavily printed that they have like not much value, and I mean like under $5 value. It's significantly low, and so I don't post them anymore. I had a bunch of like Inquire Elvis covers. Now, if you lot them up, if you have a bunch, you might be able to make, like a $20-$25 bundle, but in my experience, they are not worth very much at all. Miss Rita, and then what'd you click, Rod? We clicked two different things.
I didn't touch anything.
Oh, I don't know. We're going to get Miss Rita's questions. Then we had 2 members join earlier today. Miss Rita said she does not own a printer. Which selling platform can I move to and buy shipping labels from, like it's available on eBay? So what she's asking, do we know of any other platforms that give you that QR code where you can bring it to the post office with the QR code and have them print the label for you?
That would just be you, right?
Yeah.
Couldn't you just print it out? You just print it out of U-Ship, right?
Well, and this is hard for me because I have a printer. Maybe somebody in the audience can tell us if you don't have a printer, because I always print them. Oh, George, what do you know?
Well, here's what I do when I'm on the road, and this might help her, is if you can't find a post office that could take a QR code and print it out for you, which a lot of them are small and they just can't. But when I travel, you can actually just like forward your thing to like FedEx Print and Ship, Print and Go, and you just go to a FedEx and you print all your labels out there, and then you have them. And then you just stick them on the packages and go. Because when I'm traveling, sometimes I list things on eBay and then I actually have to take them on the plane with me if they ship while I'm gone. So I run into that, and that's how I deal with it.
I mean, another option would be just get a wireless label printer, because they're small enough and they're portable. You can actually take those along with you.
Yeah.
And you don't need a big printer for those, and you can actually print directly off your phone. So that might be another option for you to look into. They're super cheap now. You can get them for under $100. So.
Yeah, the one me and Rod use, they have them as low as like $70. That was going to be my suggestion too, was just get like a cheap off-brand, which is what we have, and do that, because my post office is so little. I think they probably wouldn't even take the QR codes. But can anybody tell us if Mercari and Poshmark have QR codes? George gave great advice on printing it. So Rita, I'll let Rod read the next question, and I'll post the link in there for you. Oh, well, let's do our members first, and then we'll read the question, and then I will put it. So Pam joined earlier, and Miss Vivian. So thank you both for joining. Here is a dolphin for you. Our next member event is this Saturday, live sourcing for you guys. So here is a dolphin.
Welcome to the flipping family.
All right, Rod, you got this one?
Yep. Let me see here. All right. Oh, oops, my bad. Question: what are your tips for getting prepared for the fourth quarter? Great question.
Sell, sell, sell. List, list, list. That's all I do all day. I list it. And, like Christmas ornaments. List it as fast as you can and just sell it.
Yeah, well, you were listing that type of stuff in August.
Yeah, now we're going to move it faster now.
Yeah, then you actually go back and you relist it, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes. But I don't know. For me, I'm just sitting there going, I hope we have boxes to ship all.
Yep.
That's what I do. I'm sitting there going, going through all the packing supplies and making sure we're ready for
We're ready for it, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Being ready for it is important because I think this quarter might actually be stronger than people are expecting. To me, getting ready for it is like Tucker says, get it out there now because it'll be there when people are going for it. This is a good slower time of year to get those things done. Also, think about the kinds of things you're going to sell. In my business, I do antique and vintage. So I look for giftware, but I look for things that I know people in the general public recognize, like Fenton glass and Roseville pottery and costume jewelry and certain names and things that are familiar to the general public, because that's the kind of thing they're going to feel more comfortable buying is giftware. They're not necessarily looking for obscure because they know that it's all sales final. And if they buy something for someone and it's something they've already got or they don't like it, they can't take it back. So you got to make it easy for them. So, think in terms of what people actually do. If you have a lot of different kinds of merchandise, focus on the things people buy for each other in this season.
Yeah. So both are great points. I would say list as much stuff as possible right now. I always say the best time to prepare for fourth quarter is to double down in August and September. So you're actually ahead of the game when it comes to this. But if you're just starting now, list as much stuff as possible, especially right now, because the fourth quarter, your Christmas season is going to end the second week of December. So you don't have much time left in there. Also, to focus on new items. If you have anything that's brand new in the box, new items do get a premium during the holiday time because people are buying gifts. Toys, video games have an increase in sales for the holidays because what you're doing, you're buying those for children. So those are things to keep in mind. Get your winter jackets up. If you have any Christmas stuff, even though Christmas stuff does sell all year round, make sure you make it a priority that you have any Christmas stuff listed in your laying around your death pile. Get those up as soon as possible. He made a really good point about your packages. If you have your eBay code, everyone gets your code every quarter to order free packages. Don't wait till the end of the fourth quarter. Buy them now because they will run out of supplies. Also, too, go to the United States Postal Service website and you can order your free boxes. Like box number 7 is a primary box that a lot of resellers use. That usually gets on back order around this time of year. So I highly recommend that you go do that, order that now. Make sure you're up to date on your labels because labels will be undelayed. I just ordered labels now and they were delayed already. So make sure you have your labels of that. Make sure you have your packing supplies, your bags, your poly bags. You just got to be prepared for everything.
Yeah, and we're in the middle of it, so there's no preparing for it anymore, guys. It started 3 weeks ago. We are dead in the middle of it. So I would say just stay on top of your shipping because there are going to be shipping delays. So even if you say you only ship every 3 days, I would ship every day if at all possible right now because stuff is going to start backing up. I think it was December 16th. I saw somebody post is the last day to get stuff there by Christmas. Yeah. So make sure that I agree with everybody said. The supplies, we're just listing. Right now we are listing boxes, which are convenient and I think will be pertinent to Q4 because people want boxes to put their presents in. So we're listing our boxes. I see you, Rod.
I was going to say too, also, if you have no returns on your eBay store right now, turn it on, even if you make the buyer pay returns, because you're going to get a lot of people don't realize this. Like guest, you can actually check out as a guest on eBay, and you get a lot of people that have zero feedback trying to buy items. And those new people that are come through, if they have no returns on there, they may move on to another seller. So at least turn them on. Make sure that you do offer returns because people want returns in the fourth quarter. You're buying presents. It's not going to hurt your business. Just even if you make buyer pay for return. At least they have the peace of mind knowing that they do buy it. Someone doesn't want it, they'll pay the $7 or $5 to return it, shipping. But that's really crucial, especially for newer buyers.
Yeah, that's very true. Miss Rosie also wants to know, what is something you've sold that you were surprised by the value?
I sold a Benny Hill DVD set for $400. Very surprising. I never think I would sell that for $400.
What was so special about it?
It's a DVD set sealed. I would never expect a DVD set sealed.
It was the full complete set sealed.
Oh, Benny Hill.
Very surprising.
I was storaging it out of a trash bag. So yeah.
I am super excited to hear that because I own that set.
Do you?
It's in my collection.
I fell out of my chair when I saw them. When it sold, I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Oh, that's fantastic.
Now
Yes. Oh, well, thank you. I don't think mine's unsealed, though. I think I opened it and played all of them, but I'm going to keep it anyway. That's great. I sold a piece of Fenton recently. Fenton has really gone shooting up in value, some of the art pieces, but I had an interesting thing happen recently. I sold a piece of Fenton, and it was at $825 with about 10 minutes left in the auction, and it suddenly shot up to $1,825. And it was somebody with no feedback, and it was somebody from China. There's a lot of people there getting interested in it now, but there is a thing, and I have a friend who sells Chinese art and artifact. He's had this experience too, where sometimes it becomes about the showing up of someone else that I can outbid you, and then you don't get paid. And that's exactly what happened. But if you go to eBay completed sales, they still show it as a completed sale, even though it's canceled. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that when I have my level 3 member chat next month. For my level 3 members, I let them suggest a topic, and someone said, well, I'm seeing prices all over the place on things, and I don't know how to price some of my better stuff. And I think there's some things people need to know about eBay research and WorthPoint and things that you do have to look a little bit deeper when you're looking at some of these more expensive things to know whether the sale really is a sale or whether it isn't.
Yeah, you make a good point, especially, and one of the good things on there is you click on the sold item. You can tell if it's relisted. You can see that a lot, because that happens a lot in the high-end collectibles, such as like sports cards, comic books, graded items, because they're trying to push the market, or someone else has it, and there might be only 2 lists, and someone will bid on it so that it gets a high comp, and then they have it available. Yep. So yeah, it happens a lot. For me, I actually just picked up an antique Tiffany studio piece, which was this. It was
I don't have mine sitting here. I had it sitting here forever, Rod. I was going to show it.
It was a stamp box, but the ones you see on eBay were like pine needles, and they were roughly like going for a couple $100 and stuff like that. And I had one that had like a fern pattern to it, and I threw it up for $1,000 and got an offer for $825 and sold. So I wasn't expecting that to sell so fast, but I was surprised at the value, just based a different little pattern on it, and got a premium for it. So I was happy with that.
Cool.
Yeah, I would again reiterate what Rod and George say and say look deeper. Like when I do my research videos, if I see it was relisted, I do not include it in my research videos because I know it didn't get paid for. So be very, very careful with those. For me, and if you watch my last video, you'll know this, but it's the boxes. And I knew they had some value, but I didn't know they had the value they do. So I just bought well over 2,000 high-end designer empty boxes. And I have somebody that spent $400 in the last 2 weeks, and none of the boxes are bigger than this. They are all Chanel jewelry box, and they sell for $30 to $60 a piece empty. And so some of the smaller boxes are actually more valuable than the big ones. And then the Hermes, if they fit certain purses, they are worth $200 to $300 to $400 as well. So it's like this middle size. So I'll list some bigger, cheaper, and some smaller, cheaper. But if they fit the certain purses that sell for $15,000 to $20,000, the box brings a higher value. So I've definitely been surprised by the overall value. I knew they had some value, but I wasn't aware of exactly how high that value could go, because it does. It definitely, it's crazy.
I just sold some of the Louis Vuitton shopping bags. Did you know that the special polka dot one that we got? I had a
Yeah.
polka dot bags I just sold from Poshmark, but yeah, all that stuff sells really well. People just don't know. Empty
Yeah, I have
perfume
a couple of
bottles.
Christmas ones.
Yeah.
That are like, and if they're different than the rest, guys, you can get more. And like the Louis Vuitton boxes that are brown are actually their older boxes. And I got a few brown versus orange, and those two will bring a little bit more. Becky's Vintage and More. What platform does the best with the least amount of fees? That's a very tricky question.
I don't know.
My thing.
We do eBay, and we just started Whatnot, so I don't know all the fees, or we don't know all the fees.
I know what burn fees.
Yeah, but I don't know.
I think I don't know is a fair question, because that is so dependent on what you're looking to get out of it and where you are in the market. I mean, for me, I'm finding that eBay is actually doing pretty well, but I use it fairly limitedly for better and more interesting things, and I do a video to promote it. And I mean, it's so, is that what your experience would be? Not necessarily. Lots of people are all excited about Whatnot. My experience on Whatnot when I did it, which was pretty early, was that I could not get the prices I wanted on stuff. Now maybe I would, because it's more developed and I also have my own audience. So, you know, but you have to look at your situation. And I think that I think that it really depends on what you're selling and how. And I hate to give you such a vague answer, you know, but I just think it's different for everybody, and it really depends on what you're selling and what you're trying to do. I mean, I know designers who only sell on First Dibs and Cherish because they want that ultimate customer and they want top dollar, and they are willing to hold out for it, but they have a different lifestyle. I need to turn merchandise.
Yeah, I mean, eBay, you're looking about roughly about 13%. It's the 800-pound gorilla in the room. You know, they're going to give you the most customers for you to promote to, but you're going to have a little higher fees. Poshmark, you're going to be about 20% for fees. I personally prefer Whatnot, because I'm okay selling stuff at 60 or 70 cents on the dollar, but they only take 10% on fees, and I'm moving a ton of merchandise. So that's a quick flip for me. So, you know, with least amount of fees, so I can afford to sell something a little bit less than I would on eBay because their fees are a little bit less. So, I mean, just based, as George said, George made a great point. It's based on your business model, what's best for you. You know, like that's why, you know, I cross list. I sell stuff on Mercari, Posh, and on eBay and on Whatnot, because that's what works best for my business.
Yeah, and I'm going to echo, like, it really depends. So for me, I'm not worried about the least amount of fees. I want to make the most amount of profit. Yep. And you might be able to get a higher dollar somewhere with less fee or with more fees, but you're still making an overall bigger profit. So like Whatnot has been so up and down for me lately. I would say eBay is going to be my go-to, and our fees average 15 to 20% because I promote so high. And Poshmark's 20. So I would say 20% is probably pretty standard on most. Mercari's a little bit less, but I don't get very many sales on Mercari. So again, to me, like, it doesn't matter if their fees are less if you can't sell stuff there. Yeah. You know, that's the thing. And Whatnot, same thing. Like, the fees are lower, but you get a less dollar amount. So we are still selling a lot on Whatnot, but we are actually working, we being me, are working on changing Whatnot into doing more high-end sterling silver jewelry versus costume. I'm going to clear out all my costume and kind of change my business model there, because it just hasn't been worth it for me to do the costume anymore. So I'm gonna blow it all out. So if you want cheap jewelry, I'm getting ready to blow all of it back. Karen's asking,
if you have anything signed, let me know.
Some of it is, but I'm just gonna blow it all out at like $2 a piece on Whatnot and let it go. Wow. I will still do higher end, you know, like the Miriam Haskell, like the higher end names, but I'm not going to do much unnamed, I guess I should say. So I'll still probably throw the named in there. Yes, I did drop Etsy. I dropped Etsy about 2 weeks ago. We stopped listing there and I shut my store down. I am not switching to eBay being my primary again. I still am making more on Whatnot as of right now, even with sales being down, but it is shifting. eBay's coming up, Whatnot's going down. So they're right now they're almost even. They're pretty close to even right now. And I'm really trying to balance it and grow both of them is what my intention is. I have more employees now to where we can hopefully make that successful. Like right now I have 180 drafts in my bank that I need to get put up because they list so much and it's only me pricing and researching and putting everything up. So I'm super behind right now. Miss Bridget wants to know, what is the strangest item you've ever sold?
The strangest thing you've ever sold. I don't know. That's a tough one.
What do you think?
I don't know. What's the strangest thing?
I saw some weird stuff like pipes.
Well, that's not that weird.
I don't know.
I'd have to think about it. I feel like George has some really interesting things, but it's really strange that you sold. I don't know if there's anything strange.
Well, tell me, Tucker, what's the most interesting or weird thing that you sold then?
Weird. I got some weird VHS tapes to sell.
Oh, yes.
What was that?
Fetish tapes.
Yeah, some of the fetish tapes.
Oh, yes.
Those are the weird ones for me.
I've run into some of that too a few times. Yes, we had a house where they had a bunch of booklets about outfits you could order. That was interesting. But the weirdest thing, and I apologize, Kat, because the last time I told this story, I was in a little radio station in Kentucky, and you could actually hear the viewership hit the floor when I told it. But I was right on after 3 people talking about the various church socials and functions they were doing. I actually was in an estate in Washington, and they said, well, our mom and dad, when our older brother died unexpectedly, he was a world traveler and he had this strange collection and they didn't know what to do with this thing. So in this basement of this cute house with cute antiques, they pull up this Philippine Igorot, like 100-year-old headhunter trophy, which was literally a human skull mounted on a board, and present it to me. And I said, oh, and this was before eBay banned the sale of that. And there were a lot of collectors, and we sold it on eBay for $1,400.
Wow.
So that was the strangest thing.
I think for me is I bought a massive collection of condoms. So when I sell condom, it's just one of those things where but I put in when someone buys it, I put in the envelope to ship out. First thing that always pops in my head is like, I know what the end result's going to happen with this every time I ship it out. So it's always a little strange every time I get a sale from one of the pack of those.
That's weird.
I don't think any of us can beat George's head.
Yeah, nobody beat us now. He's
Well,
100%.
It's Halloween. I mean, I figured it was a good time to tell the story.
George takes it hands down. For me, I think the weirdest thing to me is the moss out of the trees here in Florida. Not a ton of money, but like I could just go pick it out of the trees and sell it. But they sell it in the craft stores for like dressing the tops of pots, and people use it for like dollhouse decoration. And in Florida, I can just go, like, there is tons of it in my trees. I no longer do that, but when I wasn't making much money and didn't have much money for inventory, I would go and pull down boxes and boxes of Spanish moss out of the trees in Florida, and I sold it. So yeah, moss, I think. Yes, George definitely wins. I would agree with that. Yes.
I think
George
the Spanish moss is cool, though. I dragged a piece cross country with me as a memento, and then found out you could go to Michael's and buy a bag full of it.
It's there. I know. I can't believe they sell it, though. It's hard for us in Florida who see it like
get rid of
draped
it. I know.
everywhere. And you're like, why would somebody pay for it? Like, it's in the trees.
I had a really bad experience with Spanish moss, actually. We were
Did you
down in
get chiggers?
Yes, I did. And I decided to wear it as a wig, right? I thought I was being really funny. It was not a good idea.
You can
Yeah,
always
you should
spot the
microwave
tourist.
or put it in the oven to kill the bugs before you wear it as a wig, for sure.
Yes. You can
I
maybe
learned that the
rinse
hard
them
way.
out.
He always
Yeah.
does.
Oh, that's great, though. You know, it's funny. Those of us who have been there enough years, we love that because we know right away who a tourist is, and we remember when we did it.
Yes. Yeah, I'm like, I know where this is going. Miss Linda wants to know ideas to get the feedback number up when you're just starting out. She has over 1,000 inventory to list. 200 she paid nothing for, but they sell for 10 to 15 each. So she's asking, would you list stuff for $1 plus shipping to get the feedback up, or what are your suggestions for her to build her feedback up?
You can go in this one.
Oh, you
Dad.
want me to go? Okay.
This is enough for no one.
All right. Well, what do you do in all your packages? You have a card, right?
Yeah.
You have a note, right?
Yeah.
So that helps. I think
That does help because
That-
they know to buy from a kid, not
it tells you who you are, and it puts a person to the face, right?
Yeah.
So it helps with feedback.
they don't want to ruin a kid.
Well, not just a person,
Yeah,
right?
I know.
Because I think so many people don't feel like they buy from a
They
person.
should
They
buy
just
from
think
Amazon.
they're buying from somebody or something. So I think if you put it
Yeah.
in and you tell,
I
your
agree.
story, I think you're more likely to get feedback, and less likely, more importantly, you're more likely to get them to contact you and not post negative feedback.
Yeah,
As
like,
far
oh,
as-
I have a problem with this, and they come to us.
As far as getting get extra
I list
feedback, have
$5
you ever
items.
cared about that?
No.
Probably not. I mean,
Yeah, I have to admit I have a little bit of I have a little issue with eBay feedback. I mean, I've been around eBay a long time, and even though I haven't sold a ton on it over the years, I certainly bought a lot when I was researching my book, and I got scammed a few times, and it was by people who had great feedback. And one guy, it was a total scam artist. He kited everybody's checks, told everybody he didn't get paid, got everyone to pay him again, and then took off. And eBay's response, I mean, he apparently got like 10,000 people for $10 a piece and went off to Brazil to have a nice life. And eBay's response literally was, oh, you should check their feedback. And it's like, his feedback was 100%. It was a scam. So, things happen. Feedback is important. But yes, I think what they said about the negative feedback when you're new is a bigger problem for you than getting positive feedback. You'll get positive feedback just by listing those items. And if you've got a whole bunch of stuff to sell cheap, if you want to list it for, I assume you're saying you're going to put it on auction. I mean, if you're just going to sell for $1, I mean, I assume you're going to do like 99 cents and let them bid it up or something. You'll sell a bunch of stuff and you'll get feedback, but I think it'd be more about, getting the listings out and the feedback will come.
So the fastest way to get feedback is to be a buyer, not a seller. And that when people do look at feedback, they look at the overall number. They're not going in there to clicking on your feedback to see if you're a buyer or seller, because all it is you need one transaction with an individual buyer or seller to get feedback on there. So the biggest recommendation I would give to you is go in the sports card category. You can literally buy sports cards for 99 cents with free shipping, but make sure you buy it from multiple sellers, because if you buy 2 cards from one seller, you can only get one feedback counted to your overall number, where the whole purpose of doing this is to increase your number. You want to at least get, if you're starting out at 0, you will at least get the double digits before you start selling. It just looks better. A lot of people don't want to buy from someone who's brand new on eBay. They don't know they can ship well. They don't know if it's a scammer. They don't know what's going on. Like George said, there was a bunch of scammers on there, and the scammers do evolve over time. So, the biggest thing I would say is go on there, spend like $20. It's worth the investment, and find 20 different people to buy items for. It doesn't be sports cards, but that's probably one of the best categories to do it, because they have a special shipping for sports cards, and people can ship sports cards for 54 cents. So that's one of the best categories I would recommend. You can buy stickers, you buy pencils, buy pens, buy something for 99 cents or stuff that you need around your house. So that way you get all that feedback, because as soon as you make that purchase, people can leave you feedback right away. And if it's a big seller, they're going to have automatic feedback turned on, like me and Kat do. So as soon as you purchase from us, you automatically get feedback left. So that would be the best thing to do.
Yeah, I agree with Rod. Instead of losing $10 to $15 on items you're saying are worth $10 to $15, go spend that $10 to $15 and buy 5 $3 items and build it up that way. Because even if you If you lower it to $1 not at an auction, like George was saying, you're going to lower the value for all resellers, which you don't want to do, and for yourself if you have more of the item. So I wouldn't do it for that reason. If you wanted a higher sales average, lot some of them up together, maybe lot 3 of those $10 and have a $30 sale if they're similar. But I would not lower the value of the item, which is what you're doing if you're listing it cheaper just to gain feedback, because even if they buy it for $1, you're not guaranteed they're going to leave you feedback. You have no guarantee, and probably only about 20% of buyers leave feedback in my experience. It's pretty low. But I wouldn't lower that. I would do what Rod said. Buy either sports cards really cheap, or look around if you need poly mailers, if you need boxes, whatever you need for your business, buy it off of eBay. Make sure it's different sellers, like Rod said, so you can get, more feedback numbers, and do that. I wouldn't drop it though. Where am I at? We did that one. Patty asked how all my shipping was. So yesterday, we were in Las Vegas last week. We came back. We had about 100 items to ship yesterday, and I haven't been feeling well. The lovely people behind me on the plane for 5 hours were sniffling, coughing, and blowing their nose, and I have gotten sick. So I'm feeling a little better. I heard them as soon as we got on the plane. I was like, really? Right behind me. Like literally the row behind me. So I'm feeling a little better tonight, but I slept almost all day today. So hopefully I'll be better, but it wasn't too horrible, to be honest. It was, I think it only took us about 2 hours to ship 100 between me and Brad. So
Wow.
It was pretty fast. Yeah. There wasn't a ton of breakable stuff. It was not horrible. 365 Vintage Hunter sent us $10 super chat and said, I have to go. As always, thank you, Kat and Rod, for all the information, and good night. Good night. Oh, I have a new super chat. Gino made us a new one. Here we go. We'll debut it. Here you go.
No, nice.
Ta-da!
Yay.
I like that one. That's our new one. Gino made that. All right, let's see. Question for George. I've got a couple of vendor antique booths, but have never done shows. How do they compare to regular booths for sales, and how would I get started?
Well, honestly, shows are going to make more sales for you because you're going to be there talking about your items that you understand. You're going to be able to negotiate price. And if you pick the right show, you have the potential to do really well. Then the question is, what is the right show and how do you get started? For some people, it depends what you sell, of course. I do antique and vintage, so I look for shows that mainly do that and don't do a lot of new stuff, because the new stuff takes away from the old stuff. It makes it more of a flea market, and then you don't get as high prices. If you're able to find something like that, that's great. On the other hand, if you are like a general reseller and you have old stuff, but you also have new stuff and you want to do it in a flea market style, your pricing might be a little bit lower. It might be more wholesale, but the price to get into a flea market is oftentimes lower too. I like shows that have tons of people because I like to sell a lot of volume. So I want to put a whole lot of things into a booth and then have lots of people come along. There are other kinds of shows where it's more about creating a room effect, and you walk in and there may be your 10 or 20 pieces, but they're all very expensive and you only need to sell a few to have a show. There's some people who want to just bring small little things that are easy to carry and transport, because setting up a show is time consuming and it's physical work. I like that about it. I think it helps keep me in shape, and it's good for me usually. But it isn't necessarily for everybody. So, some shows are indoors, which is great because you don't have to deal with weather or rain or getting your stuff potentially damaged. Some shows are outdoors and they may be less expensive and you may enjoy that atmosphere more. I would say look around your area, ask other people in your area what they're doing and what's successful for them. Attend a few and you'll get a better idea of what you might think would work for you. The first show I ever did, I did about $1,800 in sales, and I was thrilled because I sold like 50 or 60 items. in a couple of days instead of the course of a month, because that's about what I was selling in antique malls then. I ended up doing better every show after at that location. You start to know people, they know you, you start to build a clientele. It's just like anything. I mean, it's just like online, you build a clientele too. I mean, even if you sell something to somebody on eBay, you put your card in, then they have a relationship with you. And if you have more of what they're looking for and you say, hey, check me out in case, then, you know, maybe they're going to you on eBay, or maybe they're going to your own website, and you're developing a personal relationship. And that's one of the things that's great with shows, is that you can develop that collector too.
Perfect. Miss Jacqueline is asking, what's the next step after? So it sounds like it was a Whatnot sale. So I'll start there. I reported to Whatnot and USPS and went to the post office about a missing package. She's wanting to know, will she be responsible for the refund, or does she have seller protection in this case?
I'm not sure. I'm still trying to process the question. What's the
I think, like, so with Whatnot as long, well, yeah, it has to be, you have to have had over 1,000 sales to get instant payment. If not, you don't get paid till it's delivered. But I feel like with Whatnot, they would cover it. But in a general situation, if it's first class, there's no insurance, so you would be responsible to refund the buyer. If it's priority, you can file with the post office and they would pay for the item up to $100. Rod, what do you have to add?
Well, there's no more first class, so there would be ground advantage. It would be ground advantage or
And
priority
ground
mail.
advantage has insurance up to
both.
$100.
So if she's the seller, I mean, just like anything else, you're responsible to the package receives, to the buyer receives a package. So at the end of the day, like, if the buyer doesn't get the package, regardless if it's out of your hands or not, I mean, you're still responsible for that package because.
But Whatnot doesn't allow us to refund. They take that
Correct.
responsibility.
Yeah. So I mean, so she already reported the Whatnot. I mean, it's out of the seller's hands. I mean, there's nothing you can potentially do at this point in time. Whatnot would step in and handle the situation. You know, that's I mean, there's nothing else you can really do with that. But I'm assuming Whatnot's just going to refund the buyer. That's usually what they've been doing in situations like this. Yeah. I mean, if you sent the item and it's been scanned, like, Whatnot can see that the item was actually shipped. If the item's not there, then at the end of the day, it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they would cover it. Miss Rebecca wants to know, George, when will you be in Mount Dora?
Oh, the third weekend of November, and I'm hoping I might get to see you there.
Yeah, so I think I will be there. So I have a hotel booked. And I was hoping to see our friend, who is not coming anymore, but I think I'm still going to come. What is that? It's the 18th. Okay. So it's always the week before Thanksgiving. So I think I will be there as well. I try and post and tell you guys in videos too. And a lot of times I use George's booth as the meeting place, because George is like my home space at Mount Dora, and I always go to George and back. So people will wait at George's booth for me, because I go back there frequently. So,
well, we have her leave Dalton, so we know she has to come back.
Dalton will stay with George and Susan if we allow him to, and hang out with them. Dalton loves George and Miss Susan, so he will just stay there if we will let him. Miss Karen wants to know if any of us have used high bid auctions to sell stuff that we want to clear out. I've got one near me. So I want to clarify, it's probably not actually high bid. It's an auction house that is willing to list for you, because high bid is a bunch of different auction places. So she's saying she has an auction house near her that will give you a 60% split, and they sell almost everything they list. So what are your thoughts on that?
So you've sent a lot of things to things to auctions. I think
depends what it is.
Yeah,
if it's something big, I send to auction houses. And it's something I don't want to deal with if I do auction houses.
One of the things that I think that we've learned for sending things to an auction house, and it's probably kind of the same as not.
You're just buying it as resellers.
Well, a lot of them, but it's weird. You will get a lot of money for things that you didn't think.
I got antique. I thought for $20, I got $100. And the signs were for $500. I got $50 for.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
So you just have to be prepared, like that. And don't, whatever you do not watch the auction.
Don't watch the auction.
Whatever
I
you
did
do-
that before. I got really mad at myself.
Yeah. So whatever you do, don't watch.
I get pissed. I'm like, oh yeah, for $500, I only got $2.
And then like you get something that you thought was worthless, and it'll make up for it. So
Yeah.
that would be all right.
Yes, that's absolutely true. You just have to go in with the expectations that by the time it's gotten to I'm sending it to auction, it means I want it out of here. I will take what I get for it. And you just have to understand that that's the way it is, because if you want more for it, you got to do the work yourself, and that's okay. You don't always have to do that. I'm having my storehouse sale this weekend. I'm going to clear everything I can, and afterwards I'm having an auction company come in and take the rest. And I'm going to smile. And if I make money, that's great. And if I lose money, what I've decided to do is I'm going to put whatever I get in an escrow account, figure out how much I lost, and then I'm going to keep track of it and find out, because I want to show everybody this, how fast you make back the money you lost if you get rid of the stuff and sell it and turn your money. Because I think a whole lot of people are complaining now. A lot of people got into this during the, a couple of years ago when people were at home and said, hey, this is a great thing to do. And now they have a death pile, and they're starting to realize that it's called death pile because until death do you part, unless you do something about it. And so you got to do something about it. And sometimes sending it to auction and just saying, I'm going to get more for some things, I'm going to get less for some. High bid seems like it's okay on the collectible stuff. It seems like it usually gets pretty good stuff. If they're doing a closet full of linens or something, I see where sometimes that goes really cheap. I know Kat bids a lot on high bid because she can get things cheap. So, just understand that it's come see, come saw, and you're sending it to auction because you don't want to deal with it.
Yep.
Yeah, George makes a great point. I'm actually going to have a video coming out here probably maybe next week, where I actually took a bunch of stuff to my local auction house because I had my death pile was getting too big and it was taking up too much room. And it's a good thing, and a lot of those auction houses do work with high bid and they do put stuff on there. I will say, when you are taking things to auction houses, you guys can negotiate your fees. A lot of people don't even try to do that. If you're doing a 60-40 split, 40% is that towards the higher end. You can probably get that down to 25 or 30%. So keep that in mind. Every time I've gone to an auction house, this goes all the way up to like Heritage Auction House, Golden Auction House. I'm able to negotiate my fees, even the major auction houses. So, and a lot of these smaller ones will take your business, and you will be able to negotiate your fees. So keep that in mind. It's something that a lot of people just don't even think about doing.
Yeah, and I've never used it to sell anything. I would rather lot it up and move it on eBay myself. Or I have stock on the buying side of high bid. I'm all for you putting it on there because then I get it for cheap. So as a seller, I wouldn't want to be on the opposite end of that. I agree. Some stuff goes higher. I'm like, why are these people paying that? Like, they can go buy one on eBay for half the price. Like, what's going on here? So, if you want to clear it out, you could, but I would just not have expectations of what you're going to get and be happy with whatever you get, that you have the space back. I'm actually going to start decluttering my house, not my personal inventory, but I will probably pull the stuff that I know has value, and the rest, I'm going to do a yard sale, and whatever doesn't sell is not coming back in. It is going to get donated I have people that are at the flea market, and I'll just call them. They'll pick up everything. So it's not coming back in. So we are actually almost at the end of my death pile. It is almost gone because I have employees listing now, but I'm like, I got to buy more stuff. The problem is I don't buy a little stuff. So I'll turn it around in like a week and be like, oh crap. But we're moving through it. So they'll be done with the boxes tomorrow. All 2,000 of them will be listed. And then we don't have a ton more left. So if you're not wanting a particular price, you just want it gone, do it. If you have any expectations, I would probably not. That would be mine.
Say that work with the rule of averages, because when I take stuff to the auction house, I'm like, okay, I'm hoping to get $1,000 for this, because some stuff's going to go for more than what you may think, and some stuff that's going to be valuable is going to go for half the amount of money. So don't look at your individual items. Look at it as a giant lot. What you're trying to get. It helps lessen the blow a little bit when those items go for half the value. I will tell you
I
that.
would not be able to not watch. That would be like not watching your own eBay items.
So
And
I can't watch. I'll
well,
get
Kat,
it.
I actually I went to a live auction and took all my stuff. I brought my GoPro. I actually filmed the live auction. So then I get my, see how it went. Like as I'm there, and some stuff went higher, some stuff went lower, but I was kind of in the range of, where I wanted to be. But
like
yeah,
for
it's just,
everything.
yeah.
Ricochet Vintage Finds has a question for George. I found an antique rose medallion box in very good shape, I think from around the 1890s, and one very similar. Where'd the rest of the? Oh wait, here it is. One very similar sold at Sotheby's for $498. What is a reasonable price that you would list it on eBay?
Well, I have to be honest with you. Sotheby's is an auction like any other, and for Sotheby's, a $498 sale is like a dollar sale to you and me. That's chump change. They just did it because it was part of a bigger collection. So if they got $498, you probably could get $498 for it on eBay. I mean, I think that customer is the customer wherever they are for that kind of thing. If you were talking about something that was selling for thousands of dollars, then you might be looking at, well, the customer is going to Sotheby's and not to eBay. But I think for an antique rose medallion box is a beautiful thing, and $500 to me is a considerable sale. But for Sotheby's, that's just like, oh yeah, we were just doing someone a favor. So I think you'd get the same price anywhere.
Perfect. I think this is probably George as well. How do you tell if you have valuable status of God, Chinese or Japanese items? Is there any way to be able to tell?
Oh, it's so much knowledge. It really requires specialized knowledge. And I would say if you're really serious about learning about those things, the first thing to do would be to get some catalogs from Sotheby's and Christie's. You can buy them on eBay or elsewhere in the market, and look at the old catalogs. I know you can do this online too. I mean, you could go to their auction records and look at past auctions and look at things. But what I like about the catalogs is sometimes they have more pictures, because in the old days, that's how they did it. And so, you'll see things that have been in collections a while that might be resurfacing again. It'll just give you a little bit more of an idea, but there's good fakes. There's fakes of the Ming Dynasty that were done in the Qing Dynasty, and you have to know the marks to know them apart. And the Qing Dynasty are worth money too, because they're 200 or 300 years old, but they're not 600 years old. It's just super complicated, and it really, you've got to do hands-on study. There's just no easy answer.
Yeah, so that is one thing, if you guys have noticed, that I leave out of my research videos for exactly the reason George just said. Because if it's not stuff I think you could easily identify, I will not put it in there. And I purposely skip over those because I cannot teach you how to do that. And I don't want, they look so similar that like one that sells for 10,000 and one that sells for 100 could look like so similar.
Exactly. I guess the one thing I would say is the first thing is look for evidence of where, if you're looking at, like the person who just said the rose medallion bowl, if you're looking at a rose medallion bowl that's 100 years old, somebody used that a few times. It's not going to be perfect white glossy porcelain with no marks on it. It's just not. So that's a place to start.
Yeah, that makes sense. Michelin wants to know the best place to start, and is there still room for newbies? I'm going to assume she means with reselling. I'm going to assume she means reselling on this question.
What do you think best place?
Best place to do what?
To start reselling.
eBay.
Oh, okay.
Depends what you have.
Yeah, but what would you say for someone who's starting out?
Starting out, do what you love. Like what items you love selling. Like sell baseball cards. Or item you're like, you know a lot about.
Do stuff you know.
You know. Not like do something, oh, it's the action figure. I know it. I'm like, don't do it if you don't know it.
Yeah.
My grandparents do this always, and it kind of annoys me.
They're probably watching. Great.
Oh, what?
He's like, why are you buying that? You don't know anything about it. But
I've been trying.
Because Cat sells it.
I would sort of second what Tugger says, and that do the things that you like doing, because if you don't like doing them, it's going to be miserable for you anyways. do the things that you like doing and do the things that you know, and then you can build from that. Once you understand reselling and platforms, you can sort of build off of that, but sort of tackle one thing at a time. You know, I think, learn what you want to sell, and then learn the platforms that you want to sell it on.
I think that's really good advice. And I think starting out with things you know and understand and like enough to want to know more about, it also will give you the idea that, hey, I won't really suffer if I get stuck looking at these for a while. I'm not going to get sick of it. And yes, broaden out when you start to learn more. And you'll just stumble across things, or you'll see other things that interest you that are similar to what you like. I mean, your knowledge will grow. But there is definitely still room for newbies all the time in this business. The great thing about getting into reselling, and general reselling or antique and vintage reselling, is the same thing, as it is one of the few things you can do on your own with almost no capital at almost any age of life. Tucker started at 9 years old. I started in my 20s. I have a friend who just started and she's 68. There is always room for more people. In fact, if anything, there's kind of, in the real world selling, the flea markets and the shows and stuff, we're seeing a lot of people who've done it for a long time retire. So we are actually seeking newbies to get involved in this sort of thing in terms of real world shows and stuff. That's part of why I do the channel the way I do. I try to inform people and talk to them about antiques and vintage and cool stuff and what I think I know about it, and get them to tell me what they know, because it creates a forum and more interest, and it's a place for newbies to learn more. So, I think that's what we're kind of all about. I think that's what this whole discussion that Kat has and Kat and Rod have about every week is about how to help new people and people who are in this, get started.
So I think both of them make a great point. You should sell things that you do love and, things that you are interested in. But before you even get to that point, I think that you should literally walk around your house and find items you have laying around your house that you do not use. Because this way, you're not investing any money into reselling. You're finding items you have laying around the house that have value online. A lot of people don't realize how much work reselling is, from dealing with customer service, dealing with printing the labels, shipping the labels, packaging the items up. And there's a lot of people that go out and start buying items at stores and get back, and then they realize 2-3 months later that they don't like it. It's not for them, So that's why I always say we start with stuff you have around your house, so you have zero investment because you've already purchased these items and you're just moving and decluttering your house. So it's a good way to start. There's plenty of room for newbies. I am a firm believer that everybody and their mother should start to learn how to resell, because at any point in time that you get into a bind, if you lose your job, get laid off, get sick, your family member needs extra money or something like that, you can literally jump online that second, start listing items and sell item that same day and make a profit and be able to have money instantly there. So I'm a firm believer everyone should do it. I'm a firm believer that you should teach your children to do it. That's why I try to get my stepson involved when I do my whatnots, just so when he sees, hey, we worked an hour, we made $700 an hour, the light bulb goes off. I can see it in his eyes. And, it'd say, oh, wow, you can do this. Or I can work at a store making $15 an hour and not make anywhere near what you guys just made that day. So it is, there's plenty of room out there. You just have to, find what you like, find your niche, and start with nothing invested in and work your way up. Like I said, I would tell you, when I first started selling vintage T-shirts and vintage clothing, I only bought size XL because that was my size. So I said that at the end of the day, if I couldn't sell the shirt, I can wear it. So, I try to minimize. There's little things you can do to try to minimize your loss too as you're starting out.
Yeah, and I would say I recommend starting on eBay. I feel like it's one of the harder platforms to tackle, but I feel like it's got the biggest audience for most items generally. So you're going to have your items in front of more buyers. And then if you tackle eBay, listing on Poshmark and Mercari is going to seem like a breeze. So it's super easy if you want to branch out to those. There is tons of room for newbies in here. Yeah, Julie's saying she was laid off September 5th. She's tripled her listings to help pay bills. And that's another reason I am on here to help seasoned resellers, but the primary reason is to help new people and people that need guidance and advice on how they're doing it. And I agree with Rod. Like, Even if you're brand new, if you find that one item that's rare, they're not going to care who it's coming from. If it's coming from me with 5,000 feedback or you with 10, they're going to buy it. So it doesn't, like, we're all on even playing fields as far as I'm concerned. Unless you have negative feedback, it's going to be your pictures, your title, your price, not if you have 10 feedback or 5,000.
Yeah.
It's all about the items. It's a level playing field out there. And I would start on eBay and just tackle it because you're going to have more eyeballs. And then again, once you do eBay, Posh and Mercari are a walk in the park. And Mark sent us a super chat for his late fee, and it is time to give stuff away that I did not do because I was in Vegas last week and having all kinds of technical difficulties with my laptop. So Mark sent $5 super chat. So I'm going to give him a dolphin, the original, and then we're going to give away some stuff to you guys. And we'll answer questions while you're entering. Here is your dolphin.
Super chat.
All right. So first we're going to give away. Listen, this is funny. So I didn't do my giveaway last week. So GRO Pack still has the daisy polys. If you're a guy or a girl that doesn't like flowers, you can pick anything you want off their website, get it for free. Poly mailers, padded mailers, whatever you want. But they messaged me last week in Vegas and they're like, no winners this week? They're like asking me why I didn't give away stuff. I thought it was fun. I'm like, I'm in Vegas. I'm tired. My laptop wouldn't work. So we're going to give away 2 of those. So I will go ahead and pop that up here. If you are in here, you probably know this already, but it is going to be hashtag GRO Pack for that. I will also be giving away some tape from Upkin Bubble Boy. And I think I will do a free month of List Perfectly as well. Ha-ha. We'll do all the things.
Look at you.
I know, all of the things. Okay, let's answer. So hashtag GRO Pack, and then what you'll need to do is go pick what you want and email me that along with your shipping address. All right. I do not know what a Ron Lee clown is. Does anybody? Sorry, George, you're hidden. Miss Mary wants to know how she cleans a Ron Lee clown figure that has gold trim. Is that like a glass figure? George, do you know what that is?
They're either glass or ceramic. I think they're ceramic, if I remember right. And they've got sort of a painted finish, and I think you need to be careful with that. I would try something simple like, I don't know. I always tell people, whatever the object is, the best thing is to get a soft cotton cloth and just very gently brush over things and see how that works as far as taking the first layer of dust off, and to see how stable the paint and the trim and all of that are. Because gold trim and red paint and black, a lot of times, were not fired under a glaze. They were applied on top, which means cold painted, which means you can rub them right off if you're not careful, especially if you use Windex or certain types of cleaners. So start with the easy stuff and then work your way up if you think it really needs it.
Perfect. Miss Phyllis says, when we get an offer on eBay, the listing becomes frozen. So what she's saying is, like, when you have an open offer, you cannot edit the listing. Is using sell similar on those listings to change the price or photos. So Miss Phyllis, if you do sell similar, you're going to void your offer that buyer might accept. So that's the only thing I would caution you. The reason they do that is because they don't want you to change something about the item after you've already sent a price to somebody. And so it's a safety thing for both the buyer and the seller, like, or you could go increase shipping or something. So I would just simply wait for that. Like, the offers expire in 24 or 48 hours. Just wait for that to expire, and then you'll be able to edit your listing again. Does anybody know how to explain this? What is UPS SurePost?
No idea.
No idea.
It's just another... I don't think it's really any different than regular shipping from what I can tell. Am I wrong about that? Does anyone else know?
Yeah, it's just economic. It
actually goes to the post office.
Yeah.
I had one today, and so now there is a FedEx Smart Post and UPS SurePost, both grow through USPS. They must have a contract with the post office.
Yeah. So what they do is they actually handle the shipping of the item, and they drop it off at the post office, and the post office makes the final delivery at the local area. So they do have a contract with it. It's actually been around for a very long time. FedEx and UPS have done it for a while now.
Yeah, and I had always seen the FedEx Smart, but today was the first time one of my Mercari labels was UPS SurePost.
Yeah.
Miss Joanne says, to those of you who list on Etsy, do you use Etsy ads and does it make much of a difference?
I don't see.
Don't list on Etsy.
He used to list furniture on Etsy, but that's a while ago, so I have no idea.
No idea.
Did you ever try the ads when you listed? I've never listed on Etsy either.
I did like $1 a day, so $30 a month. I think I had it at like $5 at one point, which is $150 a month just to see, and I didn't notice much of a difference. But I think once you hit a certain selling point, Etsy makes you take their Google ads and they will just charge you for it. Do we have LL scheduled again, Rod?
No, not yet. Probably beginning next year.
Yeah, we'll have LL on again. Rod's friend is a primary Etsy seller because he would probably be the one. And then if any of you in chat know the answer as well, let's go ahead and pick 2 winners for this. And then we'll give away tape and then we'll give away List Perfectly. 1 month of List Perfectly. Dun, 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 dun. This is for Giaro Peck. I'm going to confuse people and myself. Jersey Shell is the first winner. So go on giaropack.com and pick what you want and email me what you want and your mailing address to the nurseflipper@yahoo.com. And then let's pick another winner. Dun, 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 dun. Sean Zimmerman, you are the second winner. And again, if you guys don't win, use code the Nurse Flipper. You'll get 10% off of anything on Giaro Pack, and they are already the lowest price. Let's do a hashtag my go-to tape. My go-to tape for a 6-pack of free tape. Karen wants to know, did we see today's email requiring 5 pictures for sneaker listings now? And do you agree it's likely to get rolled out to other categories too? So do you think everybody should start taking 5+ pictures for everything now?
No, I usually take 10 or 12 pictures on shoes.
Yeah, for shoes. I saw it on, and I'm like, I don't know of any listings we have that don't have 5
Yeah,
pictures
because I'm
on them.
listing a $100 pair of shoes. I gotta get a lot of pictures of them. Someone doesn't wear them, so you know.
So I don't know if I think shoes is a category that's pretty hot. They want to make sure that they're getting quality stuff on. I don't know if they're gonna. I don't think they put out. I'd be guessing. I don't know.
I would think that's what.
But do you have any shoes that you have less than 5 pictures on?
No.
Yeah, there you go.
I bought over 20 pairs of Jordans. I take 10 or 12 pictures because you know why? They're $200 a pair.
Yeah.
So $200 a pair is worth it.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. And that is another really good point, is that if you're doing shoes and certain things, you probably should be doing that many pictures anyway, because they're really trying to prevent people from getting stung with fakes. There have been a lot of issues with that, and that's why there's a lot more of these restrictions and information that has to be listed. I don't think that's going to apply to every category. And so, I find a lot of things that I list, if it's a figurine or an object, I can take the front, the back, and the bottom for the mark, and that's pretty much all I need to do, unless there's a condition issue that I need to show up close. So I'm not going to start doing more work anticipating eBay. I'm going to wait for eBay to tell me I have to do more.
So the first category that eBay rolled out for authorization, sorry, I can speak, to authenticate shoes was the shoe category. That was the one that eBay rolled out. So for me, the way I look at this is eBay trying to eliminate issues before they get to their New York or wherever else they're authenticating those shoes. Because if you take pictures of your box, like for example, like if you sell a pair of shoes, your shoes gonna be perfectly fine, but if the box has a dent in it and you didn't put it in listing as a dent, eBay will kick it back because it doesn't fall under the description of the listing. So they actually do add the box and the shoes in there. So the biggest thing for eBay is anytime they pay for those items to get shipped to, they're sending you a shipping label. So even though the buyer pays for shipping, that item has to get shipped to New York or wherever else they're authenticating their shoes, and then it has to be shipped again to there, and eBay's paying for the extra shipping there, for that to be shipped out, for their shoes. So I think it's a way of eBay is actually stepping in to try to eliminate issues before they even get to them, to try to fix any problems they have. I don't see it getting rolled out to all the different categories. But at the end of the day, if you're selling shoes, I mean, just a front, back, pictures of each side and the insole of the shoe, there's over 5, there's going to be 5 photos just to do that. So, I mean, if you're taking less than 5 at the end of the day, you're probably not selling a lot of shoes, unfortunately, because you're not taking enough pictures for those. Yep. But no, I don't see it getting rolled out for every category. I can see it rolled out for any category that eBay does authentication for, such as watches, handbags, and then the shoes. But that's probably why they're rolling it out.
Yeah, and I didn't see the email because I don't think I really read any of eBay's emails. Sorry, eBay. I agree with Rod, probably on the stuff that needs authentication, but on most things I list, there are more than 5 pictures. I just went in and looked at our empty box pictures, guys, are 10 to 12 pictures. Empty boxes, but they are selling for money. So for me, the higher price the item, the more pictures I'm going to have. So if it's a $2,000 or $3,000 item, I'm going to use probably all 24 pictures that I have. Whereas if it's a $10 item, I might do only 3. But typically, like George was saying, front, back, and bottom, I do that. And then we do one with a tape measure. So it would be like 4, just to show the size. But if it has any value, I think you should be taking 5+ pictures anyways, if you've got value in it. Like DVDs and books are, unless they are high value, are getting 2 pictures for me. Mm-hmm. Front and back, and that's it, and we're done. So yeah. All right, let me pick a winner for the tape, and then let's give away a month of List Perfectly. Dun, 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 dun. So you can see all of our lovely faces again. Debbie M., you got a 6-pack of my go-to tape. So all you need to do is just email me and I will give you a code for that. And then let's pick a winner for 1 month, guys. 1 month of whatever level of List Perfectly you want. Hashtag List Perfectly. I'm wearing my List Perfectly shirt tonight. I wear these shirts all the time because they're like so comfortable. I love them. And I have a lot of them. All right, let's see. Grandma Mary's Attic says, after eBay fees and shipping, I'm only getting 52% profit. Is this normal? And how can I reduce costs if not?
This is for me. It's way too high for me. I'm usually 32 to 35%.
Yeah, that would be pretty high for us, but I think it depends on what you're selling and what you're promoting.
We're buying like stores out. We're buying Amazon stores out. So it's a lot cheaper for us.
No, but I think it depends on your average
sale how much
price.
You pay more for video games and get less money, but
But they're just talking about shipping and
so
I think that's higher than what we see, but I think it depends on the category you're selling and the price that you're doing and how much you're promoting, right?
Yep.
So I think you do, like you said, 35%-ish somewhere.
Yep.
And we promote what you promote normally around 3.5%. So depends on what you're selling and what you're promoting. But that seems high to me. I don't know about everybody else. Sounds pretty high to me too.
Yeah, I would agree with them, and everything they said I think is true, and I do think that seems really high. So if the question is how do you reduce costs, well, the first thing is look at your buying, because the biggest cost a lot of people have is the cost of merchandise. So if you can find ways to buy better or less expensively, or think twice about buying certain things if you're not getting them at a good margin. But then the other thing is you're saying after eBay fees and shipping. So it sounds to me like you're giving free shipping on everything. And I know there's different theories about this. I have to say, for me, I have looked at the different categories, and I look at what seems to be the prevailing standard for the category. And if the prevailing standard is that the customer pays shipping, I charge shipping and let it be calculated, because it's too easy to end up having to pay more for shipping than you expect. People order from farther away. And yet on other categories, free shipping is absolutely expected, and they won't look at your listing if you don't offer free shipping. So, those are things to consider. Also, maybe how you're shipping. If you're not using pirate ship, for example, if you're just taking things to the post office, I'm not sure how you do your business, but that would be a way to reduce some costs as well.
So I would say I usually run between a 50 to 70% margin because I make, when I buy my items, I'm usually buying lots, but I'm also, I make my money in the buy, not the sell, so like I can, when I'm buying big collections, I'm buying cents on the dollar. So I have, I can make those higher, margins on there. I think George made a great point about your profit and with offering free shipping. If you're offering free shipping, that's going to eat away. I mean, the buyer will pay for shipping. You're going to put the calculated shipping on there. And then that, that's not
So
going to
she's saying she does calculated shipping, runs 5%, and she has free inventory.
So you have free merchandise. I mean, I don't know.
So here's my thought on it. So I just looked and I am at 39%. I just looked at my eBay report. I'm at 39%. And I would say that a lot of that is probably lower items. Like, so you might have $10 or $15 items and the shipping is 10 or 15, and then you're automatically at 50%. So it's kind of hard when that shipping is lumped in with what you're getting paid, because it's really not your profit. It's a wash. Especially if you're doing calculated, it's money in, money out. So that estimate on eBay is really not accurate because that shipping's coming in and coming out. You need to really look at just item cost, what the profit is, and take that shipping out, because we're almost at 40%, but my overall margin is 50 to 70 like Rod. But if you take that shipping into account and have a bunch of even $15 and $20 items, and you've got $15 shipping on them, again, you're throwing your numbers off there. So it looks like a 50% profit where really it's 70%. Does that hopefully that makes sense. Because eBay numbers take the money you take in and then they take the shipping cost out.
Yeah, I was going to say she has free merchandise as well. So, I mean,
but she's not even. So if you go to the Seller Hub and click on performance, at the bottom, it says selling cost, and mine is 39% of my total sales. So, like, my shipping labels were $1,800. So, really, that should be taken out of the money in, money out, because that's not even. So, those eBay numbers aren't even showing you your merchandise cost. That's just eBay fees and shipping labels. That's not even the cost of what you paid for it. But, like I said, it's skewed because shipping's in there. If you're charging shipping, that's really a wash. So it's going to give you like a false percent. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was going to add to that. It sounds to me that the question would be, what's your average price? Because that's what's probably killing you. Like Kat was saying, is if you're paying, if your item is selling for $15 and you're paying $15 in shipping, you're paying fees to eBay on that entire 30%. And that's what's really skewing probably your profit margin down to 2%. Like, I think everybody's saying, like, for him, he's normally at around like 70%. Like, he's paying about 30% shipping and maybe 35 like during Christmas, because you got more things that are turning that are lower value, right? But I think it's your average sales. That's where I would look.
Yep, that's where I look.
No, if she was selling on like Amazon or something like that, if you're running between like a 20 to 30%, and that would be a phenomenal business, because you're dealing with new goods, you're dealing with the higher things. So it really comes down to your actual business model. So I don't want people that, you hear us saying these big numbers. I don't want people hearing that are listening to this to take this the wrong way, because it's going to, as George said earlier, it's going to vary based on your business model. People that they're selling on Amazon are going to have a very small, a very tight, have a very tight margin, because there's a lot more competition there, and the different items they're selling new items. Where on eBay you're selling used items, you're going to have a higher margin on those, just for the fact that you can sell, unique items or one-off items that you have no competition for.
So she's saying her average sales price 35. So I would say if you're selling a lot of 2-pound items or 3-pound, you're going to have $15 and $20 in shipping. That's really going to throw that off. I would look more at the individual items versus those numbers, because they really aren't like a good picture because that shipping is in there, especially if you're charging it. Let's go ahead and pick a winner for this list perfectly. It's been up here a while. Dun, 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 dun. And then all you will do is email me your email and I will forward it to them for you. Absolute Finds takes it. Congrats. Yay. All right. Does anybody have any suggestions on how to find good flea markets to sell at?
I don't know. You used to put flea markets.
Yeah, but they're more like antique markets.
Yeah, you haven't done them in a while.
Yeah, I'm not.
I think this is more of George's question.
Yes, more George's question.
Well, where are you located, Tucker? Whereabouts?
Virginia area.
Okay, so you've got like big DC Big Flea and some stuff like that that's more antique markets. But I'll bet you've got some general flea markets too, right?
No, not really.
Not really. Oh, it's more auctions there. Yeah. See, it depends on the part of the country.
It's very, very moving, but not a lot of flea markets because a lot of people they have yard sales. They don't have flea markets. When I say flea markets, it's more like tiki, like decor flea markets. They're not really like a real deal flea market. I think
it depends on your area because we live, outside of DC, so flea markets like in rural places like in Virginia, they're everywhere, right? Like we go down south. But the ones that are here are sort of more specialized, right?
Like they're like vintage toys, antiques, not like a bunch of different things.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. And that really is a good distinction to make because flea market means different things. And in some places it does mean mainly antiques and it's really an antique show more than it is a flea market. And in some places it's both. And in some places it's mostly new stuff. So I think the best answer again is, antique malls are a great place to go for information. First of all, everybody in the antique business is super gossipy. So they want to talk about everything and everybody, and they'll tell you where you should go and where they don't think you should go. And then at least you'll know and you can look for yourself. But the second thing is that the flea markets in your area are going to depend on, like you say, it means something different depending where you go. But those people who are professional resellers are going to know where their dealers go to shop and where they look for things. And so they're going to have that answer for you. So I think just go and ask somebody who knows, honestly, is the easiest way. And then, you can also Google it. There is a fleamarkets.com website, I think, that's a national thing that sometimes shows them. And it depends on your area. It's not real accurate, but sometimes it's good. And then there's other things that are like flea markets, like highway sales. Kentucky has all these highway sales. The famous one is the 127 that goes from Michigan to Alabama. But now Kentucky's got like 4 other ones that go across the state. And it's like you go from town to town and it's a garage sale and then it's a flea market and then it's a peddler's mall and then it's a garage sale again. And you can just go for miles and miles and miles. And so, there's a lot of fun ways to get that experience. But I would say just go to the place where the people in your area who are doing it congregate. And to me, that's an antique mall is a great place to start, even if you're not looking for antiques, because they're going to go right away. Oh, well, the flea market with all the new stuff is down there. And then you'll know, well, that's where the general resellers go.
So I think it really comes down to, once again, what kind of items you're looking for, because all flea markets are going to be different. I would say just go to your local flea markets. I mean, yes, you may have to waste a day doing there, but I go to every flea market in my surrounding area. You go there, you see what you like, what you don't like, what the sellers have, they do, and then you know which one to go back or which one that you may potentially want to set up. Also, too, keep in mind that holiday weekends at flea markets are going to have a peak market. So even if it's crappier during the rest of the year, those holidays are always have an influx of people. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, that would be my suggestion too, is I would go and talk, and I see Keepers Finder putting it here. Talk to the vendors. Like, people will talk. Go to the flea markets that are, like, for me, there's one flea market in my town. That's it. Like, if I don't want to drive an hour, I would go there. So I don't have very many options. So if you do have many options, hi, Glenn, I would go in and talk to the people that are selling. Like, if you see people selling stuff similar to what you want to sell, talk to them and see how sales are. Keep in mind too the different seasons. So here in Florida where I'm at, The flea market is hustling and bustling right now through March. It is busy because the snowbirds are here. But if you go after March, that flea market is like dead. Nobody is there and it sucks. So it would be great while the snowbirds are here, like now until April. And then you might need to find, you know, a mall or something. But here, the malls are all filled and there's like over a 50-person wait list. So I would go and talk to them. And if you have more than one to choose from, go see, again, whoever's selling what you're selling and see what they have to say about it. When you put your store on time away vacation, like over the holidays, do you or should you still list every day? And is it important to keep the algorithm happy?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
I list always. When I'm on vacation, I get like my light box out and list all day. It's me.
Plus, well, when you had the guy working for you too, he would just build those up in drafts. Like we've always got a few hundred drafts there that we have to deal with at some point anyway. So you just sit by the pool and do those.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Well, it doesn't sound much like vacation, but I have to admit, when I was in Mexico last year, yeah, I spent some time doing some listings too, because it's just like, oh, well, I have downtime, I can do this. And so, you know, if you have things prepared, the question, of course, is if you're really on vacation, are you at a staycation, or do you have to drag the stuff with you in case it sells, or do you have someone you can leave behind who can do that for you? So, you know, think about what you, of course, if you can do that, then you don't really have to put it on vacation. I guess you just make them do the shipping while you're gone.
Yeah, I try to avoid putting my store in vacation mode as much as possible. I'll extend my shipping time out like a week or so, even 10 days. I have done that before. And if someone does buy something, I just email them and let them know, hey, you may not notice my my shipping time is XYZ, because I'm currently out of town right now. If that's an issue, I can cancel at auction, refund your money. And most of the time people are like, oh, that's cool. Just ship it when you get back, but just keeping that communication, I think, is more important. Anytime I put my store in vacation mode, it hinders it, man, for the next couple of weeks after that. And I try to avoid it as much as possible. I recommend you guys try to avoid it as much as possible.
They punish you for taking a break.
Yes.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But I'm going to counter what they said, though.
Okay. But I mean, if you're on vacation too, I mean, we all need a break too. And so sometimes I do work on my vacations as well, because this is fun for me. This is what I would do in my free time. I love what I do. So anytime I go on vacation, what I normally do is I don't want to take anything with me. I'll load up my phone with like 50 or 100 photos. So I have those items there, and I'll put it on a scale and I'll take a picture of what the item weighs. So that way, if I'm out and about, then I can, quick list it and get it up there. Or what I'll do is I'll list it, get everything in there, and I'll put the weights in later on, just make it a draft. That way you're still moving forward. When you get back, you can just hit the ground running.
So I want to point out too, there's a difference between time away and vacation mode. So if you're going less than 2 weeks, you can use time away and you can still get eBay sales. If it's over 15 days, you have to put it on vacation and then you can't accept sales. So what I did was time away when we were in Vegas last week. We do not have anybody that can ship for us, but normally time away like kills my store, like they're saying vacation mode. But this time we sold $2,500 the week we were on vacation. So this time that did not happen. But I did list. I'm like Ryan and Tucker. I have somebody listing for me. So I am still putting up new listings. I didn't do a ton while I was in Vegas. I actually relaxed, went to the Boss Reseller Remix, went out to dinner with Tiffany Thrifting Vegas and Miss Bridget, which was nice. So I took some breaks and didn't list a ton, and we did over $1,000 one day in time away, which was very surprising to me. And normally I would be saying it was killing it. This time it did not. And I did probably put up 5 to 10 a day, but not a normal 40 to 50 a day, so it was a little bit slower. I took a little bit of breaks, but not a ton. If you want a real vacation, you shouldn't be listing. But if you're like all of us on the panel, it seems like we're listing.
Not me.
It's not me either. I'm like, but it's nice. Like Like even Rod came out with us. Like when I go scalloping on the boat, when we're on the boat riding out to go scalloping, I'll put up drafts. Because I mean, what am I doing? I'm sitting there enjoying the water. I might as well list, right? I'm not in the water. So, and it's nice to chill on the boat and put some drafts up, you know, it's a change of scenery. But I still do it. So I would do it if you could. We all, it sounds like we're all similar. Yes, George.
On the other hand, I'm seeing Elderly Poodle's comment. I worried about my shop while I was on my honeymoon. Don't do it. And she's got a point. You know, sometimes you do have to take a real break. I love hearing that you actually relaxed and went to the conference and went out and had a good time. And isn't Tiffany nice? Had you met her before?
Yeah, no, not before this time. No, that was our first time. So I was happy to meet her. I did relax. Yes, I would say if you can do it, don't. I agree, but I know me, and it sounds like Tucker knows Tucker, and I'm going to be worrying about it no matter what I'm doing.
We're all a little that way.
So yeah. I mean, I would say try not to, but like I do it. So what I typically do is like I get up early when everybody else is sleeping, you know, like I'm an early riser. So I would get up early, do it. So by the time they woke up and were ready to do stuff, I'm ready to go. Like it's not interfering and holding me back on doing things on vacation. I'm doing it, you know, early before everybody gets up. Tony, I'm not sure if you're still watching on Facebook. I don't know what she meant here. I don't know if she wants to know if we like give away inventory or donate it. I can't see what the object is. I don't know. So I think she means really like, do we ever redonate inventory maybe to make tax donate, like, because your donations are tax write-offs, but.
So I'll see if they.
Let's see if they answer, Dad.
She's on Facebook, though, so I don't know if she's still watching on Facebook. I think she means, do we ever redonate to make a tax donation?
I want to talk about, this is actually something kind of cool that you do.
Oh, yeah. So I partner charities. So if I get like 20 of one thing a new box, so like only worth $5, I'll usually donate it to a charity like, oh, this is going to a hospital or something like that.
So a couple things that done. I mean, we'll always he'll bring things to the thrift store almost every week. We're always bringing stuff to the thrift store, but the things because he buys in such bulk and so much stuff that we started doing, and even like as we've started setting up the Amazon store and different things, you have to find places to bring the stuff that, like, you know, where do you take 1,000 books or 2,000 books, right? You have to find those places actually in advance. I think it's a really important thing to know, like, to have an exit plan for stuff, right? So, I mean, and to have a really good thing, because, like, for example, you have, like, that's what he was talking about. You have
20 toys, but
20 of the same toys, right?
They're worth $5.
But they're only worth $5. So he partnered with the home hospice care for kids, right? And so he gives a bunch of toys to kids in home hospice like every month. And we get a tax write-off for it, and we get a pub. And actually, he gets a lot of sourcing from some of these places too, that give him leads and do different things like that. So I think it's really that I think it gets overlooked with resellers to.
Shoot, we lost them.
And they're gone.
Well,
they had a nice
that answer.
They'll be back.
I thought that answer seemed pretty good, though. I like the idea that they're donating a certain part, especially when you're getting box lots. I mean, I definitely, when this sale,
they buy storage units, George. They get like whole storage units.
Storage units, yeah. Well, then exactly. When you're doing that, you do have to know where the donations are and where they'll take it, and you need to know that right now, because a lot of times you have a few hours to clear out that storage unit, unless you want to make it yours. And that is the beginning of losing money when you start renting the storage unit you just bought. That's pretty smart. And they're back. Okay, great.
Sorry, I hit a button.
He always hits buttons.
Tucker, you should probably fire him.
Yeah,
I'm tempted.
I wish.
Write him up, Tucker. I mean, he is your employee. You should write him up.
Yeah.
For me, I do donate items. Usually if I buy a massive plush lot and stuff like that, I try to donate them to like a children's hospital or something along those lines. And we just found out that a lot of firefighters and first responders will actually want like the little plushes. If they do show up to the house, and they can actually give them to the kids that are there if there's a trouble or something going on to try to help comfort the kids. So I just learned that recently. But I mean, if it's listed on eBay, I'm going to keep it up there. I'd rather take a loss on the item because the work's already done. But I mean, when it comes to like my death pile and items I go through that I bought, and I'm like, we all have gone there, like, why did I buy this? Or this is taking up too much room and it's not going to be enough profit. And, sometimes it's just better just move it and move on, because peace of mind goes a long way too.
Yeah, so for me, I have just one main person I give mine to. I don't use it as a tax write-off. So the standard tax deduction for a business is $25,000. So unless I'm donating more than $25,000, it doesn't even get put into my tax return. And the only reason I know that figure is because my daughter just donated her car to the fire department, her old car that wasn't running they're going to set it on fire and use it for a training course. And so she asked me if I wanted it like to use. And so I asked the accountant, he said, standard is 25,000. So unless you're donating more than 25,000 a year, then we don't even put it on. So I have somebody that goes to the flea market. The last people, I gave them like 2,000 shirts because I made a very unwise buy of shirts. And they brought some stuff to a church, and like the church was making water bottles with the shirts in them, and they were sending them overseas to missions. So I don't worry about the tax write-off portion of it. And I just have somebody that comes and gets it. So a lot of the thrift stores are for profit, and I would rather give it to an actual person that I know is going to go sell at the flea market and can use the money. So that's what I do. And they come to my house and they take everything, which is really convenient for me. I say, you have to take everything I give you. They come, they take every single thing, what they do with it. But like I said, they have in the past given it to the church, given it to the daycare, like kids in the neighborhood. So that is what I do. And elderly poo. So unless you're donating more than 25,000, I would ask an accountant, because a lot of times standard deduction is going to cover more than that.
And if you're a personal donor, you can donate $500 a year, and anything over that, you have to have an appraiser state the value of what you donated. So do be aware, you have to have a certain IRS form 8283 if you're doing it on your own taxes and it's not a business. So if you're donating under $500 worth, you can just say I donated whatever the amount was. But if you go over that, then you actually have to have someone else sign off on it, which means you have to have a list. In certain states, like Florida, you have to list every single item you donated. And it is very time consuming. Now you can do box lots, but still they want to know, was it closed? Was it housewares? When I'm done with an estate sale, I just throw everything in piles and boxes. I don't know how much of that there was. So I've learned that I have to do videotape at the end of, well, what's left in the estate sale, so that I can prove my donation. So, don't just assume that you get to do it. I just did a big appraisal for a really expensive waterfront house in California. The people, it was a Chinese investment company. They sold this $11 million house. They bought $330,000 worth of contemporary higher end designer furniture to fill the 11-room house to stage it. And after they sold it, they donated all of it to Habitat for Humanity, and Habitat for Humanity just gave them a donation slip. They didn't write down descriptions of what any of the stuff was. They had none of the original sales receipts. And the IRS was like, you can't take a $340,000 donation. You have to have an appraisal on it. I had to use pictures and do the best I could. And, even though it was brand new stuff that was probably never sat on, it wasn't new anymore because they bought it and put it in a house. So it was all worth about half of what they paid for it. So let that be the lesson about appraisal donations. If you're doing a big donation, you really need to keep records.
Yes. Hollyhock wants to know where to research a large brass Victorian oil lamp with a large ruby glass globe?
Google Lens. I don't
Google
know.
Lens, yeah.
That's what
Well,
I
I mean, what do you use, Tucker? You probably use eBay completed sales to look things up,
do.
right?
Yeah, this is what I do. I Google Lens it, copy, so I find an eBay listing on Google Lens, and then paste it and put it on eBay. And go so.
Then you typically will go to WorthPoint too.
Yeah, I have a WorthPoint account too.
But
Yep.
I have
Yep.
WorthPoint. Yeah.
So those are good places to start. And you're right, Google Lens can be a good place to start. You've got to be careful on Google Lens to know that the one that you're showing them is the same thing as what they're showing.
Description. I'm very careful on description.
Yes, yes. You have to definitely read the description and definitely read the description thoroughly, because I knew an appraiser who got in a whole lot of trouble because they based an appraisal on a comp, and the person sold the item and then found out it was worth 10 times as much. They didn't read the fine print. The appraisal comp they used was damaged and repaired, and it was worth 1/10 of what the item should have sold for.
When I first started, I did that mistake, but now I don't.
Yeah, we all learn, and so so those are some places. Honestly, when it comes to Victorian stuff, I like rubylane.com, because you can at least get an idea of what people are asking for some of that stuff in a market that's a little higher end, where people who really appreciate that are shopping. eBay is not always a great place for large items or really fancy things. Sometimes sell better on Cherish or First Dibs. So, I think Google searches are a great way to start, and then, keep going.
George,
Also, I'm sorry, one other thing I should say, I always like to shout out old reference books. The values may be different, but people did a lot of work to put together reference books back in the day, and there is a good reference book about Victorian oil lamps. So if you can find that, you might actually be able to find some information.
Yeah, if anyone wants to learn about different categories, go on eBay. You can get a lot of the old reference books for super cheap, because they're just, the pricing's outdated. But as he said, a lot of them have great photos, and they are great for research, especially if we're learning a new category: glassware, antiques, depending what you want, tools. But George, I think it'd be good. Could you give the audience here some of the other websites maybe they're not familiar with that you would use to look up comps, or maybe they would sell antiques on? Because a lot of people here are going to be using eBay. They're going to go back 90 days. They'll use WorthPoint if they pay for the service like that. But that's pretty much our Google image. That's pretty much what a lot of the newbies will be starting out with. But maybe some for the advanced sellers here. What are some other tools they can use?
I think that's a great question. I think one thing is that, yes, we love comparable sales. We like to see what things actually sold for, and you don't want to just rush out and base prices on what somebody hopes to get. But sometimes you can't find a comparable sale if you have something unusual. So then maybe you do have to look at what people are asking. And so you might look at places like firstdibs.com or cherish.com or rubylane.com. If you're doing books, a great place to look is abebooks.com. That's American Booksellers Exchange. I think there's also alibris.com for books, but you can go to these places and at least put in information. If you're having trouble finding something that seems obscure, you may be able to at least find somebody who is selling it and get an idea at least of what they think it might sell for. And at least that gives you a start, and maybe a little bit better description if they've already done the research, and then you start to find the minutia. Like books can be tricky because the subtleties between one edition and another might be real small. Like there's a letter in the back page of the binder that tells you if it's A or B, so there's things like that you wouldn't necessarily know if you didn't do a little deeper dive. Also, collectors boards and groups that collect these sorts of things are great places to post stuff. I mean, people really do love to talk about this stuff and help each other out. So,
yeah, you stole my answer there. I was gonna say Facebook is a huge resource for collectors groups, and I mean, especially and I'll give you guys a good example. Like, if you have action figures with accessories, you can go on there and just post stuff like that, and they will get it down to the T. So, it's great, especially if you want to learn about a new category. I highly recommend going on Facebook, and you'll have a lot of good research, but there are some bad advice on there as well. So just make sure that you do go through it with a fine comb, as you're going through those different groups. But yeah, Kat, do you have anything to add to this? Because they stole my answer.
I don't think so. I think everybody's kind of covered everything that I would say.
And I appreciate George giving us those different websites, because I think that can be very beneficial to a lot of the viewers.
Yeah, for sure. Miss Donna wants to know where's the best place to get huge costume jewelry lots.
Wow.
Do we tell Kat's secret? No. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Your grandparents actually do.
A lot of auctions.
Yeah, they do a lot of auctions. You don't do a lot of jewelry, but
I hoard it,
yeah,
but from my
hoard jewelry. Okay.
not hoard it, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll buy it, Tucker. You can just sell it to me.
I haven't yet.
Didn't you just say you're changing your business model and not doing costume jewelry and everything else now?
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know what he's hoarding. He
Oh,
might be
okay.
hoarding good stuff.
Oh.
Well, you know,
Sometimes-
a lot of people that I listen to say they buy from Goodwill, and they buy bags of jewelry from Goodwill, and they go through and they find stuff. And you can, if you're willing to pour through it and take the time, you can do that. Sometimes you can occasionally go to a big antique show and there'll be somebody who wants to lot out a bunch of jewelry, or go to estate sales where they've got a bunch. And, you know, it depends what level you're trying to buy. I mean, if you're trying to buy a bunch of unsorted stuff where you might find something special, then you pretty much have to like hope to get a lot at an auction or a Goodwill bag or something like that. But you know, I do estate sales, and I have people come at the end and they're like, "How about $50 for everything left on the table?" And I'm like, "Great, go get a bag," you know. And then they take it home and they pick through and they sell the better stuff for more. And you know, so there's various ways.
Yeah, I would say auction houses are probably gonna be your best bet. A lot of people do go through Goodwill. Yard sales is known. I see costume jewelry every single weekend when I'm at yard sales. Tons of it. And you know, as George said, I'm not sure, you know, how if you're looking to buy in bulk or if you're just looking to get some here and there. But if you're looking to get some here and there, go to yard sales. You hit up 20 yard sales, and you'll get a bunch of houses that have costume jewelry. There's probably one out of every 3-4 yard sales has some type of costume jewelry at it.
Oh, and I saw someone
Yeah.
say Goodwill sells everything to Shop Goodwill, but that's what I'm talking about is people
Yeah.
are ordering off of Shop
Yeah,
Goodwill. and
I
finding
for a
stuff.
long time sourced only on Shop Goodwill, and that's this year. So I go through phases, and now it's going to be different. I'm going to have to regain my footing and kind of figure out a little more what I'm doing with changing the model of jewelry that we're going to be selling. I bought a lot of sterling silver off of Shop Goodwill. I buy it off of HiBid. Even local little auction sites will have jewelry lots. The big thing is finding the lots. And you need to look at, like, you'll learn some people know what, and those lots are picked through. And that includes the Goodwills. Now, Goodwill is just like HiBid. Those are all different Goodwills on there. And some of them might be pulling the good stuff and some of them might not. So you will learn that, but you're going to pay to learn. You're going to pay to learn which ones are doing that and which ones are not. So shop Goodwill. You can, I will put this in here. Any of the auction sites plan on spending hours and hours and hours looking to find a good lot. It is not something that is fast. It is not something that is easy. You are going to be looking for hours, clicking in, going in, and the more you learn, the better eye you're going to have to pick those good lots. But on an average HiBid auction, I will spend 8 to 16 hours looking through that catalog and at the pictures if I plan on buying a lot. Yeah, but I'm spending $3,000 to $5,000 on that auction. So
Okay, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
so I find ones that have a lot of what I want, and then I spend a ton of time in those lots
Makes a lot of
instead of
sense.
jumping. But here's the thing, Teresa. Some of them do go high, but they don't all. And that's where spending the time and finding those lots that not everybody else has found and put their eye on is where it is. But where I'm telling you, expect to spend hours, and you might spend hours and find absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
It's thrifting from your couch. You know,
Also,
you might not find anything.
I would say a local auction house in your area that doesn't sell online. If you guys have those in your area, you can get some killer deals on stuff because the competition you have is going to be very minimal. It's just going to be your local competition.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because nobody's seeing it.
Correct.
Miss Carolyn says, Y2K Abercrombie parachute pants, and she said they're orange with dragon embroidery. They were worn by Christina Aguilera in a Genie in a Bottle video. She said she's sure they were men, but she sees people listing them as women's. I would assume people are listing them as women's because of Christina Aguilera wearing them. So how would you list that pair of pants?
I have no idea now.
I don't know. Flip a coin.
Yeah.
I think I would list them how people are going to wear them, right?
Yeah.
So like, are they women wearing them or men wearing them? I'm not sure, but that's.
Yep, I agree.
I remember from Nurse Flipper Camp where I was taught that what you would do is you would mention Abercrombie because that's the brand. You would mention parachute pants because that's what you are. And then I think you would say something as seen in Christina Aguilera video and then refer to that in the description because that may be the selling point. Is that right?
Pretty
And
much,
I would
yeah.
put men and women's.
Correct. Yeah,
I'm going to target both.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head. All those also too is I would go click on sold listings and look at the sold listings, look at the titles and what
and
has
the category
search
that the
from
sold
highest
one
to lowest. Yeah, search from highest to lowest and see what the commonality is in there. Is it certain keywords they're using for the highest price ones, and then you literally just sell similar, copy one of those listings there that's hitting all those key points. That's going to be your best bet. And then that way you can see if they're listing in men's or they might be cross listing in multiple. You might pay the extra was it 10, 20 cents? Listen,
yeah, it's not much.
Yeah. So, that's just gives many eyes on it for it, but don't try to reinvent the wheel. See what's already being successful and then follow that same approach.
That is so smart. Yeah.
100%. Miss Jessica wants to know where's the best place to authenticate sports cards for reselling versus collecting?
I think, I'm giving the whole lot, but I think it does kind of
depend on the card.
Tell me, Rod. I think it does kind of depend on what type of card
like
you
if
have.
they're old cards,
like for example,
a Mickey Mouse rookie card.
Like the older stuff, SGC is probably going to be your better bet. Like for old vintage cards.
I always noticed Mickey Mouse rookie cards.
Yeah.
So PSA is going to be the 800-pound gorilla in the room. They're going to be the number one grading company out there for cards across the board. They have the highest resale value. SGC, which is still a great company. Their turnaround times are great. So a lot of people have been going over them. They're pretty much like a number two. You have CGC, who's actually doing the authentication process for eBay now through sports cards. But I mean, the difference in getting the card authenticated is you're referring to the grading process because when you are authentic, if you're sending a card in to get graded, they're going to authenticate that card to be real or not real. And it can be very costly. It's spending, depending on what you're looking to do. So, I mean, I would need a little bit more keywords or more understanding if you're looking to, if you're having a Mickey Mantle card or if you're having, just some card from the 1990s, the whole process is going to be completely different. Because then you want to go through, if it's a newer card, you probably go through SGC because they're going to have the lowest fees, fast turnaround time for you. But if you're dealing with something more vintage or like a higher end card, there might be only, SGC or PSA might be the company that you want to go to just for the fact is, they specialize in those and you're going to get the higher resale value. So you're factoring, when you are collecting, I always tell people, yes, I'm a collector, not a reseller when they say about, when you have graded cards, but the same point in time is all collectors eventually sell their collection at one point in time. So you need to take in reselling value even as a collector. I'm a firm believer, collect what you love, collect what you like. But at the same point in time is if you're not selling that collection, when you die, someone else is going to be selling that collection. So those are factors people just don't consider and they need to because it makes the process a lot easier and depending where you want to take things to.
Well, and especially if you're dealing with something that's really high end and it is a trade-off of value. I know that I had a pennant from the Masters golf tournament and it was signed by Vijay Singh and it was signed by Tiger Woods and Arnold Palmer. And that's what they want is all three of those guys and a bunch of other players too. And I had it at a show in Florida, the one that Kat and I see each other at the most. And I had $2,500 on it, and I think someone offered $2,250, and he said, you know, I'm going to send this off and spend the $300, and then it's going to be a $4,000 flag. And I said, yes, absolutely. But I have a picture of the guy being presented it by Tiger Woods, so I know it's real, and I can give you that. That'll help you with your authentication, of course. And I said, you know, the thing is I'm liquidating an estate. I need to do this now. I don't have, I said, I looked into authenticating it, and $300, and 3 months later, I could make another $1,500. I'm getting a third of it as commission. Am I going to wait to make this sale for $500? It just didn't make sense for me. So you really have to decide why you're doing it. If you're doing it for collecting, then it's for you, and you're spending the price to enhance your collection. If you're doing it to resell, you got to weigh out.
Yeah, you make a great point, because turnaround times are going to be crucial, because PSA is going to be the longest turnaround times, where like an SGC is going to have a quicker, CGC is going to have a quicker turnaround times. But I literally just sent in some Mickey Mantle, some Nolan Ryan rookie cards, Johnny Bench rookie card. I sent a bunch of cards, but I went through PSA because they're going to have the higher resale value for, you know, even though the other companies are close and some are very similar, in my opinion, they're going to have the highest resale value. So on that marketplace, that's, you know, I had to resell, I had to, you know, sacrifice the time. It's going to take a 4-month turnaround to get those cards back, where I could have sent to another, but I could have sent to another company and had to turn around maybe, you know, within a month, and I would have took maybe a lesser value on those, but I was in no rush, you know, because when you're dealing, it's not something that's, they're not current players, you know, that's another thing. When you don't current players versus, you know, people that are retired, it's a little bit different, because when people are current and they're hot, if you don't, you need to quick turn those around as soon as possible, because if they get hurt or something else, that value is going to drop tremendously, because what have you done for me lately?
Yeah. All right, I'm going to answer this, and then I'm going to throw one at Tucker, and then we're going to let everybody say bye. I didn't realize it was already after 10. Did Dalton like flying? Yes. Dalton absolutely loves flying. We flew to Vegas and back, and then last month we flew to DC and back, and he absolutely loves flying. No, he's not scared of it. It does not faze him, and he is perfectly good on an airplane. He absolutely loves flying. All right, last question for Tucker. Tucker, they want to know how you got started. They also want to know why you fired your sister.
Oh, great.
Go ahead.
Which one to start with?
How did you get started?
How did I get started? I actually started very weird way. I started golf balls in the river. So I went in the river, picked up golf balls. I'm like, my friend was in the river, and I'm like, oh, I can sell golf balls. And I bought golf ball, and I sold golf balls 10,000 that summer out of the river at yard sales. I'm like, and then I started going to yard sales. My dad and my neighbor had golf balls. And I'm like, oh, I can buy golf balls at yard sales. Because I already had a lot of money from golf balls in the river. So my dad gave me $0, because, you know. And I'm like, okay, I'll buy golf balls at yard sales. And then my dad did antiques and furniture and all that. And I'm like, $1 for, I make 20 off this. So I grew up with like auctions, live auctions, like Burke auction, all these auctions I used to grew up with. Like, I just for $10 on the auction, I can make 20. And I'm like, oh, hey, Dad, I gotta do flea markets. Like, what? Huh? So you hooked me up with a store, and then I started eBay. My dad's like, what? You remember what he said?
Well, you told me when you were like 9, you were like, I want to do eBay. And I said to you, what?
You're crazy.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about eBay. Like, what are you talking about? You didn't watch too much YouTube, right? Because you started with watching Antique Roadshow and Pawn Stars, and then I sort of bored with that. He started on YouTube. And he's like, wait, all these people are making all this money on eBay. I see this stuff all the time. And so he's like, let me try this. And I was okay. And then it really took off very, very quickly.
Like the first item I sold was like a military jacket or something like that. Yeah. Then one really amazed me. So that fast, I bought a bell, like a brass bell, like an antique brass bell, and it sold $200 immediately. I'm like, what? $200 for a bell?
Yeah, and stuff that you were selling in antique booths would like.
Oh, this is the craziest story. I had a red Coleman lantern sitting in my booth for a year, 2 years, and sold it immediately on eBay for $100. Yeah. I'm like, what? $100?
And then I was like, all right, what's going on here? Like, I don't understand. And then to answer your question about him firing his sister.
So this is a long story, but She did golf balls with me, and I fired her because she's just playing with friends and is not doing what she's not supposed
Because
to.
you would hire all the other kids in the neighborhood to help you. Once you realized they would sell, he started paying all the other kids in the neighborhood to collect the golf balls out of the river for him. But then he fired his sister.
Because you're not pulling wage.
6 at the time. She was
not,
6.
She's not pulling wage. I'm like, no, you're not pulling wage. Playing your friends and not playing golf balls. I'm firing you. And she's like, whatever. And then she started a different business because she's all mad at me.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, you were inspiration. That's good.
All right, Scott came really late. Scott came super. That is a super late fee. He came after we're closed. The doors are closed. We're in Cat After Dark. Her only job reference is getting fired by her brothers.
That's
when you start your own.
The rest of her life.
Well, it's funny because she got really mad when he fired. So she was like, I want my own business, right? And so I used to have a big garden and I would make pickles. So I'll teach you. She was 6 at the time. I'll teach you how to make pickles. You can have your own business. And this is before Tucker had his eBay business. I said, all right, I'll do you have to do it, but I'll cucumbers up for you. That's the only part I'm doing. Everything you have to measure it, you have to do it. And she was so proud, so excited. By like the 3rd time she was trying to do it for her, and I said, I will not do it for you. I will help you do it, but I won't do it for you. And so she was like, well, I don't want to do it anymore.
I'll do it.
Was like, I'll do it. And this is before he had eBay. This is when he was just doing golf balls and antiques and the flea market. And he goes, you said, he goes, I'll do it. Like, because that business printed money too. Like, I mean, she was getting like $8 for a little bar thing. I'm
gonna go crazy for it. People will buy it.
And he's like, I'll do it. So she did it just to spite him. She's like, no, he can't have another business. But then he had no interest in that anymore. So she quit it.
That's funny.
All right, Tucker, I'm going to make you big. Tell everybody bye. Then we'll make George, and then me and Rod will let you guys know what we have going on. So here is Tucker.
Bye, guys.
So you have your first Whatnot Friday,
right? First Whatnot show on Friday.
Yeah,
cool.
What time's the show?
8 p.m., right? 8 p.m. Eastern.
It's going to be a lot of, what do you got?
Vintage postcards from 1900s and a lot of Hallmark ornaments.
Okay.
What's your name? Is your name Tucker Findley on Whatnot?
It's Tucker's Treasures.
Okay, so Tucker's Treasures, guys. Friday at 8. All right, here is George.
Oh, that's really cool. I am doing a premiere, my usual Wednesday night premiere tomorrow night. And then I'm doing shorts all week long because that's showing the process as I get ready to do this storehouse sale this weekend. If you are anywhere near Western Kentucky or Evansville, Indiana, or Clarksville or Nashville, Tennessee, I'm somewhere between all of that in a little town called Earlington, Kentucky, right off of Highway 69. And after that, I will be doing, probably some live sales, a lot of eBay listings. And my next show is Mount Dora. And so you can see Kat and I down there on the weekend before Thanksgiving.
Perfect. Rod, what do you got going on?
My new video just dropped literally like 2 minutes ago because I didn't air with it earlier. So go check it out. It just dropped on YouTube. I have a massive jaw-dropping haul from someone who I won't give it away. But anyway, tomorrow night, Whatnot, 7:30, I think tomorrow night on Whatnot, I'm doing an all-free show. Free items.
Wow.
Free shipping. Everything is free. It's my way to give back to the community. I just hit 1,000 followers on there. So every time I hit 1,000 followers, I'm going to do a free show, give it away. Last time I gave away tons of vintage Disney items. We're going to do shirts, hats, Disney stuff. We're going to be doing a little bit of everything. So come by, get some free stuff, come chat. That's it.
Cool.
Yeah, tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, I am on Whatnot doing it says $5 in the thumbnail. I'm going to do $2 Wild West style, blow out some jewelry. And then Thursday, I'll probably do a show. It's not scheduled yet because I'm kind of in the air what I'm doing over there. Friday, I am kicking off the Gift Gala, which is a Whatnot event this weekend. I am the first seller in that. Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern to noon. So I will be on that. Next week, we have Ken from SSK Promo and Archie Biscuit Butt. He is in the chat a lot here. So it will be, I think,
met that guy.
yeah, Ken is,
Oh,
I
wait.
met Ken at the rally and I met Archie. So I've met both of them in person
It's-
before.
It's also Halloween.
Oh, it is Halloween.
Well,
It
Kat's
is
gonna be
Halloween.
dressed up next week.
Yeah,
Are you?
sure.
She said,
I'll be a
There we
jewelry
go.
bag.
There she-
So yeah, join us next week. Watch for everybody on Whatnot. George, are you doing your sales on the Antique Nomad Live channel? Is that where your sales are for them
That's
to
where
find?
my sales are, yeah. And I'll be
Okay.
having some sales on there after I get done with the on-site sale this weekend. Who knows? I might
Perfect.
even bring a bunch of stuff from that and blow it out.
Well, thank you, Tucker, Ryan, George. I appreciate you guys for coming
Thank
on.
you.
And all of
Thank
you
you.
in the chat, we appreciate you. And we will see you next week. Bye, guys.